Hi, I'm Helena, so welcome back. I'm afraid this took again longer than it should have because, well, I couldn't film last Thursday due to my parents being home, and this is always kind of weird if they're around here while I do this. Yeah, no. So, today we're gonna end the opera of Richard Wagner. So as you know, if you've watched previous content of mine, this is the break where he goes into exile. So after this, he never said that one of his works was called an opera again. Right after this, we're gonna have Tristan and Isolde, which is not an opera. So Lohengrin is the last opera he wrote, and then he was exiled for a few years. Actually, Lohengrin was originally produced while Wagner wasn't even in Germany, or what today is Germany. He was in Switzerland. So he left Germany around 1849, 1848, and this was originated in 1850. So in absence of Wagner. But this is one of the biggest works of him, because it got him the support of the Bavarian king, Ludwig II, and also it got us the most famous bridal march in history. So potentially, if you ever get married, there's a high chance that you use this as your bridal march when you come into the church. Or, of course, you use like ordinary, which I don't really comprehend or understand how this should work, how short this church would be for everyone to be able to go in by their queue, but never mind. So it's probably ordinary, or it's Wagner's bridal march. So let's start. First of all, of course, you need to know what this lipstick is, because I have too many and I don't know, I never wear them, so I'm just gonna use one every time I make a video and tell you what it is. So this one is the MAC satin lipstick made in Canada. This doesn't explain anything. This is number 824, Twig. I don't know. I'm personally not so much into the matte lipsticks anymore. I think no one is. But I don't know. This is kind of pretty. I feel like with the glasses, for me, darker shades are better. But anyway, so we're gonna start with this, with Lohengrin. So, as always, or maybe you have understood this already, probably, I'm gonna start with explaining what the actual opera is, and then after that I'm going to talk about one specific production I love, and this is the one we're gonna talk about. But first we're gonna go into the story, and I'm going to try not to be too biased, because as you know, I like the second ladies, and they are very often the bad guys. To be really honest, she's the only this second lady, this La Seconda Donna, is the only one woman who is exclusively the bad guy. Exclusively. Always, and the other times, yeah, well, I don't know if Tannhäuser counts really, because she's still a goddess and she doesn't really do anything against him. Anyway, but she's the only one who manages stuff on her own, basically. Also, Tannhäuser is more of an anti-hero, so I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna start off with Lohengrin. First of all, you've got to think we're in, I don't know what this is called in English, if it's like there's a duke and the duchess and this is their Reich, basically. So they have been dead for a while and they had 2 children. Presumably, this is what it is in most productions, is Elsa is the older one. And there we've got our second E-roll, which I still don't like. I'm sorry. Eva, Elsa, Elisabeth. This is 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because I just remember Tristan and Isolde is next. And then after this is Meistersinger, and then there's Eva. So we've got then all the E-rolls covered. But they've got the two children, the one is Elsa and the other is Gottfried. This is again one of those German names, old German names, which we don't really use anymore. But as I said, they've got these two children, so normally, because we're still talking about something of the Middle Ages, so this fairy tale was also with the Brothers Grimm, was written down by them, not in this form, but in a form. So, anyway, girl can't inherit. That's just it. So Gottfried's naturally the heir, and he's going to be the next Duke of Brabant, which is the city they would reign over. But then one day, it's basically Elsa and Gottfried go out into the woods, and a few hours later, Elsa comes back, and she's completely distraught. She doesn't know, she lost her brother. It's, well, we don't know. I personally think Elsa's insane, but never mind. They never find Gottfried. At least not before the opera starts. This is all before the opera. And very soon the guy who was supposed to marry Elsa, whose name is, I'm so sorry, this is another German name, Friedrich von Telramund. So I think you just say Friedrich most of the time, but his name is Friedrich von Telramund. As I said, he's Brabant's hero. He's a count, so he is Count of Telramund. And he was supposed to marry Elsa, who's, by the way, again, much younger. I'm so sorry. Just have to cough for a moment. I'm trying to get sick now because I can't get sick in a few weeks, so I'd rather get this over with. So if I cough a few times, I'm so sorry. Friedrich is the hero of Brabant. He is a war hero. He fought in a lot of wars, ended a lot of wars through victory with his own manpower, and he's really a local hero. And he was supposed to marry Elsa, and I don't know what exactly would happen then. She would just be countess. And currently he reigns over Brabant because Gottfried is too young to reign. Elsa would be old enough, by the way. This comes out. So Elsa would be old enough to reign if she was a man. But now, since Gottfried's no longer there, there's two options. Option number one is we get this girl, who we still don't know what she did when Gottfried was disappearing. Either we get her on the throne, or we get this hero, this Brabantian hero, on the throne. So, naturally, they all tend to go far more to Friedrich. But Elsa is very good friends with what was at the time Germany, was king. His name is, in English, is Henry, so we're going to stick with Henry. So she's good friends with him. So Friedrich knows that he has to have a proper trial in which they find Elsa guilty of murdering her brother, basically, and therefore stealing the throne. And then Friedrich would be the proper guy to do it. But, and here we come to our seconda donna, who is called Ortrud. This is, by the way, something that happens always with Wagner. So just by how names sound, you can very easily determine where someone is, other than in The Ring. The Ring is a completely different thing. Mostly just about the bad guys. You can't tell who the bad guys are by their names, because that's historic. But normally you can always say when someone's a bad person. So the light personae, they always have like ease for me, which is another vowel for you, but anyway, ease and is and as, and like the bad guys have an O and a U, and they're completely really sounding darker, basically. So we've got Ortrud. Ortrud And this is where I'm not allowed to sound biased, because Ortrud is the real reigning lady. I don't know. I don't think it would have been queen, but she's the real Duchess of Brabant before it turned Christian. So she is not Christian. She would be considered Germanic. So she's into the Germanic gods like Odin, Thor, Freya, Fricka, and we're gonna get to them when we get to the ring. But her family was basically, how should I put this, overrun by the Christians, and their land was made Christian, and that's why Elsa's family is now on the throne. But this goes back a few centuries. But she's still the last one in her line of the family who once was on the throne. And she's, as I said, she's a magician. You know where we're going with this, I think. Especially if you have seen any image of Lohengrin, you know where we're going with this. So, basically Ortrud is this mysterious figure. We first meet her as Friedrich's wife, who he married after he broke off the engagement to Elsa, the murderer, and he married Ortrud, basically. We don't know how they met. We don't know what kind of alliance this is. I personally, and this is my personal thought, is that she loves him. She really truly loves him, because she says later, when he says, I should never have married you, she says, you're really hurting me by saying this. And why would she say this if she wasn't in love with him? Just my theory. But anyway, we don't know how this alliance got to be. We can assume that she had her fingers in when it was about accusing Elsa of murder and stuff. So, what's gonna happen now is we have Friedrich and Ortrud. Friedrich is the Brabantian hero. Ortrud is the real Duchess of Brabant, so to say. She's coming from the older line, from the Radbod line. And we have Elsa, who is not quite sane, who is so sorry, who's not quite sane, who was seen last with her brother, still don't know what happened, and they have this trial with the German king, Henry, present. So, this is the point where we really start with the opera. So, everything else has already happened, and if you think this is a lot of pre-story, then I would advise you not to watch Tristan, because there's almost nothing in the actual piece against what happened before, but it's all explained in the piece. So this is not much pre-story. We're coming in, having the trial. Elsa is all confused. She's not really into it. Friedrich's having the time of his life, basically. Ortrud's also having the time of her life. Obviously not. Most women, especially, do not trust Ortrud, because she's not the same faith. She hasn't been in the city because she's been an outcast. She's been in exile in some wood. In a castle, obviously, but in a wood, and not in the city at all. So she's always kind of this mysterious figure again. And no one really likes her. No one, I always have the feeling no one really gets why Friedrich married her in the first place. But she's the most interesting person in this whole opera, so never mind. Anyway, they basically say, Friedrich says, okay, she murdered her brother, I should be the rightful duke. Just saying, this is my calling, it's me. Hi. He's not the problem. But never mind. And basically, it all goes according to plan, basically. No one believes Elsa, everyone believes Friedrich, which is normal. But please tell me if it's otherwise, because I think that's normal. Believing a hero rather than an insane little girl. Anyway. Basically they ask Elsa, and what is wrong, what happened, and she says, my poor brother. Which is not an explanation. And then, after this, she has one of the last arias or arie that Wagner ever wrote, because he kind of broke this up. He broke this all recitative aria thing up, and it was just one line going through basically. But this is what is normally considered one piece, one monologue, so to say. And she basically says, I had this dream of this guy coming in here, and he was a hero, he was so cool, he was great, and he would save me. And everyone says, okay, I think she's insane now. And she says, no, please just toot your horns, basically, and then this guy will show up. And they toot their horn once, and everyone's like, okay. Yeah. Nothing happens. And then the second time, toot, nothing happens. And Friedrich and Ortrud are, in this production, they are seen like, this is so insane, why is she even doing this? And after the third time tooting the horn, there is a guy that comes. And by a guy, I mean this really heroic figure. Don't know who he is yet, unless we've seen the title of the piece we're in momentarily. We don't know who he is yet. He's coming in a carriage over the sea, over the lake, sea, whatever, lake probably, over the lake, drawn by a swan. And this is the image you normally get when you think about Lohengrin. You see, there's Lohengrin in this carriage drawn by a swan. If you ever visit Neuschwanstein, for example, this is in the living room. There's a huge portrait of this. But anyway, basically he comes, he says, hi, I'm here, this is me, Elsa, I'd like to marry you, but you can never ask my name. Just saying, you can never ask my name, where I'm from. This is non-negotiable, but I'm gonna marry you, and I'm gonna fight for you, and I'm gonna win for you. And we must always think this is the Middle Ages. So I think normally today, if this would happen, we would say, okay, bit weird, animal abuser, boo. But at the time, it was almost a godly sign that this guy came to them in this way. And obviously, the unknown guy, whose name we still don't know, fights with Friedrich, and Friedrich loses. Big way. So he has to go into exile. Friedrich has to. And alongside him, of course, his wife, Ortrud. Anyway, it basically ends in Elsa saying, oh, my savior, you're so wonderful. Of course I'll marry you. It would be an honor to be your wife. You may have noticed that I still don't like Elsa. I'm sorry. She's my least favorite of the three Erols, and this is saying a lot. Basically, this is how the first act ends. So, second act. I want to say at this point, Ortrud has been on stage the whole first act, except for maybe 2 minutes in the beginning. But the other time she has been on the stage, she has never on her own said a sentence. Just while the other ones were singing, she was also singing. Which is, by the way, so insane. You're on stage for an hour. You're not singing, you're not speaking, you're not doing anything, and then you're supposed to sing without a mic. Just to get this clear. Ortrud is for me one of the most insane roles. Let's be honest. She's on stage constantly and she has relatively little to say. But we're in the second act now. And the second act begins with a prelude, which is basically the very famous lines sung by Lohengrin, but in, what is it for you? Is it flat? Is it? I think it's minor for you. I think it's minor. I'm not sure, but in minor. So it's this famous thing in the first act that he says, nie sollst du mich befragen, noch bis ins Sorge getragen, woher ich kann der Fahrt, noch wie mein Name und Art. Basically, you should never ask or have your sorrow where I came from, or what my name is, or what my sword is, which is basically, I think, his family stem. But never mind. So, second act. We're starting off with Ortrud and Friedrich, and now they fight big time. As I said in the beginning, or a bit earlier, is that Friedrich basically says, you're the reason why I'm now an outcast. You're the reason why I'm an exile. I hate you. This was not a good idea. Why did I ever believe you? And she says, oh, wie tödlich du mich kränkst. Oh, how you hurt me so much. You hurt me so much. And I think Ortrud's in love with Friedrich. I really think so. Because, I don't know, I always had this feeling that she was much longer in love with him than he with her. But this is a personal thing. By the way, this is not like in the opera or something. But that she was in love with him. But he was always promised to Elsa, so he never even looked at her, and now this was her chance to be with him, basically. But she's rhetorically brilliant, and she says, bro, you do know that basically I protect you through my magic, so if he still won against you, then he must also be protected by magic. So she's just saying that, and she's basically capturing him by telling him her version of the stories, which is of course more magical and more dark. And she says, if you would have just cut off of him one part of him, don't get any ideas, she means this part. Even if he would had cut off of the strangers this part of his body, then he would have been forced to be in the form he normally is. Unfortunately, this does not happen during the opera, which is a shame, really. Would have liked to see his real form. Anyway, and Friedrich gets captured by this. So this is quite a long segment in this, because you have really got to understand how Friedrich gets caught in her net, basically. And I still like her. I'm sorry. The bad ones are always better. And then there's this moment where Elsa comes to a balcony or to a window or something. She says, oh, how wonderful is this night. I'm gonna get married tomorrow. Woohoo! It's so going great now. Basically. And Ortrud also catches her. And she says, oh God. By the way, she sent Friedrich away. You cannot do this with a guy. But I'm sorry, my cat's stretching on the bed and I have to look because he looks so cute. Anyway, Ortrud basically says, oh, my life's so horrible. He didn't mean it. He really thought he was doing the best he could. It's so horrible. How can I ever be good again? Yeah, it's of course a farce. But Elsa doesn't know it, and she is so gullible that she... Oh God, I sound really crazy for liking Ortrud, don't I? Elsa's really gullible, and she comes down and says, okay, yeah, good. I'm gonna forgive you. And Ortrud already tries to send out her net a little bit, but Elsa is still so gullible to the other guy, to the stranger, that she won't believe anything. But Ortrud says, I've got the time. But in the time that Elsa takes from when she was on the balcony to when she comes down, this is the time where Ortrud has one of the best singing, like, I don't know, what is it, 4 verses, 6 verses that she could get, which is so powerful, which is so hard to sing, and it's simply so great. Anyway, she basically says, Germanic gods, come to me, help me with my revenge. This is the time where we're gonna get this shit back, people. And this is a really, really powerful moment, which no one reciprocates in this opera. This is basically, even though this is named after a man, this is really about the two women. Elsa, the pure, the good, the Catholic, and then Ortrud, the dark, the magic, the mysterious, who actually, and this is what we can take with us for the modern world. Ortrud is mainly also disliked because she has an equal partnership with Friedrich. Maybe something that she even is a bit more powerful than he is. And this is completely out of line if you think about what actually happened in the 19th century and what rights women did have. So Ortrud is really kind of the modern woman in this, who says, I'm gonna get this back. I'm the true leader of this. I'm good for this. You're not. I may need a guy for this because momentarily I cannot do this on my own, but I'm gonna be there. So what's happening on? Basically, it's the next day. This is still in the second act, by the way, so it's kind of divided between Ortrud's part and then before the church. And this is something that if you read the original saga of the Nibelung, then you might have already encountered this scene. Basically, it's wedding day, and they all are going to the mass. And Elsa wants to go to the mass, and it's all wonderful. But Ortrud says, no, you're not. You're not going to this, because we don't know about you / your future husband anything. You should stay back because I'm a countess. You're just a princess momentarily. And we don't know what your husband is. So since I'm the higher ranking one, I should be first in line to go to the church. Which of course ends in a catfight between Ortrud and Elsa. And it's basically all Elsa going, no, he's sent by God, he's so wonderful, he's so great, it's wonderful, cool, one. And Ortrud on the other side saying, we don't know who this guy is. How can you trust him? How can you trust this guy? No one knows over my husband, who is a hero, who you all know for years. How can you do this? This is stupid. But then, of course, Lohengrin comes. And, as we all know, Ortrud always shuts up in bigger, well, when there are more people around, basically. She never says something then. It's always, when she talks to Friedrich, she speaks, and then when she talks to Elsa. She never talks to Lohengrin directly. Never. Just want to be very clear about this. But now it's basically Lohengrin coming in, and he says, what does this cursed woman do here? I thought she was in exile with her husband. And Elsa is again like, oh, I'm so sorry. This was not, they tricked me. It's so horrible. Please forgive me. It's so cool. I hope you can still marry me and get the throne I'm on, even though I still don't know, you know. It's really pathetic, let's be honest. But still, Friedrich comes and he basically challenges Lohengrin in a kind of a male cat fight. So they're still talking, but Lohengrin wins because he's magic, let's be honest. And basically Friedrich has to leave. But they still talk to Elsa for a bit, and they kind of plant the seed of mistrusting her husband. Future husband. And so it's basically Lohengrin. Oh, I'm sorry, I said his name. The stranger. Never say. I forget this. I never said this. The stranger. The stranger and Elsa go to the church and get married. Woo! And basically Ortrud and Friedrich stay back. is the end of the second act. So this is the one where Ortrud has really everything going on. And now we're going into the third act. And this is the point where we come to our bridal march, which is not a bridal march at all, because it is not used in the church. It is used when the stranger and Elsa are going to their bedroom for their first night. Yep. It's not something that is played at the church. It's something that you play when you go to bed. Just saying. Anyway, Lohengrin said it again. It's a Freudian slip, I think you say. Forget it. The stranger and Elsa basically go to the bedroom and they pray and they have a lovely night. And then suddenly, like, kind of all hell breaks loose, because Friedrich and his people, his guys, they try to come in and, well, get a little part of him so that he shows his true colors. But Elsa helps the stranger and giving him his sword, and he kills off Friedrich, which is one of the first major deaths I think there really were. I think this is the first one. Anyway, Friedrich dies, and it's a horrible story, and kind of the aura doesn't get better after this. And it ends how we would all know that it ends. She asks him what his name and what his sword. And he really tries to get her to not say it, but she does, and she asks him. And he says, okay, good, this is over now. And they re-meet at the lake where we all started off in the first act. And it's basically, the stranger says, okay, good, guys, she broke her promise. I can't be here any longer. This is my story. By the way, no one knows whether this story is true. Just keep that in mind. This is only his word going on. And he says, okay, good, I'm one of the Knights of the Grail, the Holy Grail. I am the son of Parsifal. If you, in a few weeks, say, why are we having something about a piece called Parsifal? Yes, that's the same one. He basically wrote the piece for the son before the piece of the father. The father is actually the last piece we're going to go through, Parsifal. And the guy says, my name's Lohengrin. I was sent here by God to rescue this pure soul, and I'm Knight of the Grail. And everyone's like, oh no, he's a Knight of the Grail, and this is so horrible, woohoo, boo. You know the drill. It was coming, basically. And then he says, yep, I'm off now. And then we see Ortrud, like, in a rage incoming. And she says, yeah, I finally got it. He is leaving. This is so great. Now, if he would have just stayed 1 year here, then the swan that I so wonderfully transformed, there we're getting to it, the swan that I so wonderfully transformed from the boy Gottfried. So she saw Gottfried, she found him in the woods for some reason, and she transformed this boy into a swan. And she says, if Lohengrin would have just stayed 1 year, then everything, my curse, would have been broken. But it is not. And it's so good. The Germanic gods will reign again. We have the time of our lives, basically. And this is, I've succeeded. This was all my plan. Unfortunately, Lohengrin begins to pray, and he prays the swan back into a boy. Don't ask me how this works. It's probably just one of the Christian wonders, if you know what I mean. And the boy goes back forth and it's all great. He doesn't say a word, by the way. And Lohengrin hops on his carrier, which now is drawn by doves, because it can't be more Christian than doves, and he's drawn away by them. Ortrud, by the way, kind of broke. It's not explicitly said that she dies, but Wagner always kind of euphemisms that. So Ortrud breaks down, and then later, while Elsa sees that her husband's going away, she also breaks down. And they die, presumably. So out of the 4 main characters, Lohengrin is gone, Friedrich is dead, Ortrud is dead, Elsa is dead. This is it. This is the story of Lohengrin. Bit of anticlimactic, isn't it? Yeah, probably. But now we're gonna talk about this. This is my personal holy grail. Yeah, it's just great. You may have already noticed that this is completely blue. Like, I think at the very end there's a bit of orange, but otherwise this is really completely blue. And here on the cover, this is the last scene of the 2nd act, by the way. So this is how the curtain closes. We've got Elsa here, Lohengrin here, and this is Ortrud. So Ortrud's kind of still lurking in the background between what's going on there. This is it's just so, so beautiful. It's not only like the best, not composer, is it director? Forgot the word. I always forget this word. Anyway, basically this is one of the most beautiful versions there are, not only because conducted, but not only because one of the best conductors ever, especially with Wagner, who's Christian Thielemann, conducts this, but also, again, because it's just so beautiful. There is this, married couple who made this production together, and they also, I think, they painted all this. I don't know whether you see, this is all painted. And this is so insane. And they had not a completely new perspective on this, but a perspective. I think, and this is just a theory, it might also be because I think they're both Jewish. I think. Not sure. But I think they're both Jewish, and, you know, Wagner was an anti-Semite. Just is. He was a communist, and he was therefore also an anti-Semite. If you read Karl Marx, yeah, anti-Semite. But Wagner, other than in the ring, he usually says the good guys are the Germanic light figures and the bad guys are the Jewish night figures. So in this case, basically everyone is a Germanic light figure. But Ortrud. Ortrud is the Jewish night figure, which is obviously insane because she's not Jewish. This is, I don't really know, out of the 3 Jewish night actresses or night parts of the women, at least 2 are not Jewish, because we have the Roman goddess Venus, we have Ortrud, and then later we have Kundry and Parsifal. So this does not make any sense, but I could think that this is one of the reasons why they concentrated more on Ortrud, which is, of course, for me, I mean, I love it. And for them, it's much more of saying, hey, Ortrud is the legitimate heir. She should have been it. And while Wagner originally said she's the snake in paradise, of course, going back to the Bible, they say no, she's actually the only one who's intelligent enough to see over this whole God's play and say, again, why are you believing this strange guy who comes here in this magical carriage over my husband, the hero? She's the only one who really questions this whole thing and says, the math is not mathing. There are things that don't add up. And Ortrud doesn't die in this one. Yes! Ortrud doesn't die in this one. Basically, it's a very matriarchal thing because it's much more focused on Elsa and on Ortrud. And also, in this case, Lohengrin really is a liar. So there is a scene when he basically tries to kill Elsa, and the only way out she has is asking him his name, and then he has to let her go. So then basically the whole other ordeal is that Lohengrin is a fraud, and they all believe this. They all believe this story of him being the Knight of the Holy Grail, etc. But Ortrud never does believe that. And while Gottfried and Elsa leave at the end of the opera, Ortrud stays behind, and she is, well, consequently, because there's no one else left, she is the new Duchess of Brabant. So this is this version. This one is actually from Bayreuth, and this was originated the first year I came to Bayreuth, and I didn't see it then, and I could cry. I could cry that I didn't see it, because this lady here, we're gonna encounter her later in Tristan, and we will probably encounter her a million times, because she is my absolute favorite opera singer. She is so great, and this was her last performance in Bayreuth. This is the last time she was on stage, and this was the year I first was in Bayreuth, and now she's not there anymore. I think she stopped singing completely, but at least she does not sing in Bayreuth anymore. This was the last time, and I could really... I saw this particular production 2 years ago, and they tried to end it after that. So we were in the last performance, but since the friends all loved it so much, I'm so sorry, this is just a push thing that there's again black smoke and the Vatican, never mind. This was so loved, this production particularly, because it's so beautiful again. I don't know whether you see like also the wings that they have. Ortrud also has wings, but they are behind her obviously. But this was so beloved, this production, that they were like, you have to bring this back. You're going to bring this back. Also the conductor. Not the original cast, unfortunately. Hate it. But they're bringing this production back, and I'm going this year once more. And you should know this. Basically every year they do something differently, a little bit, only a little bit. And like the last time I saw it, it was when all the married women came up and they were singing like this chorus piece and stuff, that their hands were bound together. So they weren't really able to really throw flower petals because their hands were bound. Elsa's were also bound. The only one who did not have her hands tied up was Ortrud. And when she came in and she began to talk to Elsa, the first thing she did was getting this, I don't know, was it rope, was it something? She basically cut this off of her and freed Elsa of the confines of marriage, whatever. So, anyway, this production ended in a good way, luckily, and, well, at least for Ortrud, let's be honest. And Lohengrin was a jerk who then went away. And let's always remember that he's getting carried by, or drawn in, by a swan who was originally a little boy. So this is not only animal abusing, but also child abusing. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Just wanted to say this. But this is still a piece that's horrendously, and I mean horrendously in a kind of bad way, Catholic. We've always have to remember this, that most of these works of Wagner are very, very Christian, and they're very much in the belief. There's the ring that falls out, there's kind of also Tristan and Isolde falling out, but yeah, that's just it. And this was Lohengrin. I hope you like this one. God, I don't know, I always change my mind about what's my favorite work of him, because whatever I listen to currently is my favorite. But this is really cool, and yeah, I'm so sorry, Waltraud Meyer. She's, I don't know. It's just such a shame that I never got to see her on stage, actually, because I'm such a great fan, and she's such a good actress. She's so cool. Anyway, she also, like, she plays a few roles. She played Venus in last week's version, so in Tannhäuser. I think the only few roles she didn't play, amongst the big roles, she is a mezzo-soprano, but she's also able to sing soprano. So she didn't sing in The Flying Dutchman, and she didn't sing in Meistersinger, but she sang in every other piece, but Brünnhilde. She didn't sing Brünnhilde, which is understandable because she's a really heavy role. I think she's the most difficult role there is, even though she sang like Brünnhilde's Death, which is 20 minutes long. She has a CD about this, which I've got. I'm so sorry, I just had to fangirl a bit about her, because she's so cool. And look at this. I would much rather wear this than this. I'm sorry. By the way, this is also when we're going into what I want to wear for Bayreuth this year. Dark blue for Lohengrin is non-negotiable. There is gonna be dark blue happening. Just saying. But anyway, this was Lohengrin, and right after this, I'm gonna go into Tristan. So, see you in the next episode. Bye.